What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. We've got some big words, some news from David Stearns talking at the GM meetings. We also got a Josh Naylor signing to the Mariners. We'll talk about briefly what that means for Pete Alonso moving forward. It's just kind of an episode to go over the Mets offseason plan because it appears like we have a better look inside what's going on in the Mets front office, what the plans are moving forward. Got comments from Carlos Beltran. This team very clearly has a plan, and it seems like they're going to execute on that. We're going to talk about everything. Before we do, make sure you subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Most of you aren't subscribed who are watching this, so make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss out on all the content, as well as follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. James, back in the setup, ready to roll. Let's start talking about some Mets.
First time in a minute with the background back to the way it's been, but I like these kind of weeks before the offseason really starts. Now we actually have had the first big signing of the offseason with Naylor, so it feels it, but it's just kind of searching through the weeds, trying to find the hints of what the plans could possibly be, trying to basically translate the GM speak, the coach speak into learning what these guys are actually going to do. Do you want to start talking about Naylor, though?
Yeah, let's briefly talk about Naylor. At the time of recording, we don't have money, which is crazy because it happened like 3 hours ago after we were recording. There's a rumor out there by, what was his name, James? Do you remember?
Ari Alexander.
By Ari Alexander saying 90 to 100 million for 5 years. We could have probably told you that as well. That's the range. We were like 90 would be great for Pete Alonso's market. 100 would be a little concerning because there definitely is a difference between these two guys, and we're trying to figure out what Pete Alonso's price is on the open market. But that's surely got to be where Naylor signs. If we see 90, I feel great about that.
Yeah, the first thing I texted you and I sent the Mets'd Up Discord when we had it but no money, I said 5 for 90, and I think that was also exactly what Kylie McDaniel predicted in his free agency predictions for ESPN. So again, it's a pretty fair estimate. You said 90 and 100 is a big difference. No, it's not. That's $2 million a year in a 5-year deal.
It's not a difference for like the idea, but for Scott Boras, Pete Alonso talking about what Pete Alonso's contract value is, Pete's gonna be like, I'm worth more than that guy by more than $20 more million over 5 years.
Totally, but I think especially seeing the 5 years for Naylor, I don't think this is as meaningful to Pete Alonso's cost as I think some people have thought it to be so far. One, because Josh Naylor is just 2 years younger than Pete, so I think that I thought Josh Naylor would wind up kind of waiting around the offseason and get a smaller deal, but that's not the case. I was wrong about that. But seeing him get these extra years and knowing he's younger, and again, understanding that this could be between 90 and 100 million if we're going to go with that number, it's a low AAV. It's a very low AAV. Pete Alonso made much more than that in a single year last year in terms of 1 year of that contract would be worth. Like the $18 to $20 million AAV isn't exactly what you'd consider an elite player. And I think Pete would – there's still probably a world where Pete gets a 3 or 4 year deal that pays him like an elite player. If he wants the 5, and now this can actually be a template for that,
that's
take
what
less
I'm
money.
leaning towards. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. So now if Pete wants like 5 at $24 million per, like – that's kind of what we said initially, which was the 5 for 125.
That's my shake my hand deal every single time. Every time I talk about Pete money, I'm like 5 for 125. It gets it done. And while you might not love paying, was it like 36, 37-year-old Pete Alonso $25 million a year, like this team needs to win now. This team can worry about those issues later. And I know that's like a classic mistake every organization makes. But I don't really care about what the Mets look like in 5 years right now when this team is in a place where they need to win now and should be looking to win now.
Yeah, just to give a sense again of players, free agents who have signed deals with AAVs between $20 million and $18 million over the last few years. Active contracts right now. The Christian Walker contract was 3 for 60, and he was 5 years older than Josh Naylor at the time of signing that. 33 versus 28. Nick Castellanos 5 for 100. The Schwarber contract with the Phillies, which we said at the time was a coup. Starling Marte, $19 million. Like Jung-Hoo Lee, $18 million. Jock Peterson's on a 2-year, $37 million. Anthony Santander, which was the comp I also made in the Mets'd Up Discord when this contract happened. For a 30-year-old, a little bit older, bit of a shakier profile there, less defensive value, but those are the kinds of things. Wilson Contreras was a catcher at the time, so that's a little different. Michael Conforto made $17 million for 1 year this year.
Yeah.
Like, this is the contract you pay someone who you like but you don't love. The 5 years is more of a love, and I tweeted this too, which I think is kind of fascinating, that Naylor is now the 5th first baseman in the league to have a contract of more than 2 years. It's Naylor, Vlad, Christian Walker, Matt Olson, Freddie Freeman. It's just a small list. You don't really give those guys that kind of commitment.
But I do expect Pete will also get something like that too, because he is just way better than Josh Naylor as well.
Definitely way better. People remember mentions being like better than Pete. I was like, no, he's not.
It's not even close.
Absolutely not. But I think that, 5 years low AAV actually I think is not what Boras and and Pete would have wanted to see for this.
No, that's why I brought it up in the first place. Is like if we see 5 for 90, I'm like great, because then it feels like 5 for 125 is actually realistic and might happen. Where we see 5 for 100, I could see being like, well, this guy hit my worst year is what this guy just did in his best season. Like, we're not the same.
And I think that still like we said originally, I still think that makes 5 for 125 the ceiling of what anyone would offer Pete Alonso. I really stand by that and believe that. I think it's also relevant that Naylor signed this deal back with the Mariners, so while he had the qualifying offer, it didn't come into play, and Pete doesn't have qualifying offers. That's also part of this.
Yeah. But I think that's all we really need to talk about, Naylor. We can move on now to the rest of the Mets offseason plans. Like we said, David Stearns gave us some sound bites, some interviews at the GM meetings. We also heard Carlos Beltran talk at the PRDR All-Star game out at Citi Field. Which looked sick. It did look sick. One thing that both those guys stressed immediately, like one of the first things out of their mouth, defense, defense, defense. And you heard it from David Stearns in his postseason press conference. Defense, defense, defense. It's not sexy. It's not fun. But when you look at this Mets team last year, they didn't play very good defense, and that definitely cost them some games, the difference between making the playoffs.
Yeah, Stearns mentioned it specifically that it was when the defense was near the worst in the league and the pitching was bad is when this team played their worst baseball and wound up losing their playoff spot. He said that in the press conference he did with SNY when they had all the scrum of reporters. He said that when he talked to Brian Kenny and LB Network. This is the thing that's going to be a key part of this offseason. He's like the number one thing he wants to improve with this team is defense. Like that was mentioning that the defense was bottom of the league, I think was relevant because based on all the numbers that, again, we have access to, it was never bottom of the league. We saw the Mets being lower half of the league, which I think does tell us that they're grading the Mets on a much sharper scale than what we can see with things like DRS, OAA, UZR, stuff that, again, in the public forum we can access.
Yeah, and we know that too, just from watching this team. Like, as much as we love Juan Soto hitting, defensively he wasn't great, especially in the first half of the year. Brandon Nimmo wasn't great in left field. Mark Vientos couldn't play third base at all. Pete Alonso was bad defensively at first base. Like, there were definitely some clear and obvious problems defensively with this team, along with the fact that while Lindor is still great defensively, he didn't have the defensive numbers he had in previous years, so you could take that away from the Mets' defensive value. The rotating door at second base, like, there was a lot of instability with this team defensively, and it does seem like they want to probably, and I'm not going to say to be the starters necessarily. I still think they're going to take bat over glove when push comes to shove, but I think a lot of the fill-in guys, a lot of the guys who would be in a Mark Vientos spot, a Luis Angel Acuna spot, Ronnie Mauricio, those last four guys on the bench, they're going to be looking for defensive guys who can come into the game and make an impact with their glove.
He also mentioned specifically in a few of those things that Mark Vientos is a bat-first player, and he'll get opportunities based on his bat, which is like no shit, but it's cool to see like the lead executive like say that so contritely. He mentioned that the hiring of Kai Correa to be our new bench coach as one of the best defensive minds in the league, and he was excited to what Kai could do with this team defensively because Stearns mentioned specifically the big part of what the Mets should do to improve their defense is players improving the defensive abilities of existing players. And then another comment later, someone asked if you can improve the defense by Soto DHing. And he was like, no, second half of the year, we saw Soto's being an average defender. And in his career, he said, we've had times where Soto's flashed as a good defender as well. So I think they're like, he's going to be playing the field. And again, like he mentioned in the end of season press conference, he mentioned some players changing positions. He said that twice now. I guess someone's going to be picking up a new glove this year. I don't want it to be Jeff McNeil, but I think that's the most obvious one, becoming a first baseman.
You've been flirting the idea of McNeil, especially now with the TOS surgery. Like, he's
which is crazy.
Not going to be able to really throw very much. So that completely takes away like playing any outfield at all. And then second base, while it's not a big throw, can't really not throw still at that position.
How many times ever in the history of baseball has someone gone from, besides Cody Bellinger, I guess, from playing center field to first base? It's not a good move. It's not even a good look back to be like, this guy was playing center field last year. Jesus Christ! Like,
but Jeff didn't actually grade that bad in center field. He wasn't great.
No, he was fine. But his arm was very
really
bad. And again, like that, like even losing Tyrone Taylor for as much as it did this year, like it's going to kill the outfield. And also, Stearns had a funny comment about Nimmo's defense. Someone asked specifically about that. He like kind of froze and kind of did that chuckle. Yeah. He was like, he made some good plays. Some plays we know he wished he would have gotten to too. We're like still confident in Brandon and all this stuff. It was the freeze talk was like a very funny way that David Stearns went around talking about Nimmo's defense.
Yeah, I think everyone who's a Mets fan or watched any Mets games this year was like, Nimmo did not move well in the outfield. He did not get to almost any baseballs that were hit not directly at him.
Yeah, you eloquently called him the Tin Man on more than one occasion.
Yeah, he moves like a robot. It's crazy. And I love Brandon Nimmo, but he just needs to be better for this team defensively as well in the outfield. He was so good in center field that one year. He was moving like a fucking gazelle, and now he's tighter than ever.
And again, we keep saying this because it seems like this is just going to be a big part of this offseason.
He could also be a first base guy too.
That's what I'm saying. This is not that we're turning off all this stuff about wanting to re-sign Pete Alonso, but it just seems like the defense is really, really critical. And then Beltran's like doubling down on it too. Like David Stearns can say what David Stearns says, of course, but Beltran doubling down and being like, yeah, we got to get this defense better. Like that's, especially coming from a guy like Carlos Beltran, you kind of, I take that kind of literally because how good of a defensive player he was, of course, too. It's even the John Gibbons was on Terry Collins' podcast today. I
didn't get to catch that. And he talked about what went wrong for the Mets. Did you watch it at all?
I listened to someone on 2XP in my train ride home today, but it was very much like, he was like, we just didn't perform. He's like, people want to point fingers. He was like, we had all the talent in the world. Guys just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think it was kind of nice to hear him say that, because I think some people want to hear like salacious things when a guy like that goes on and talks. But I think that's true. And it's you can kind of feel that still in what Stearns is saying. It's like, we really should have been a lot better than this. We just were not. And it's nothing. We wish we could have done something better about that. That was it.
Holiday shopping season is here, and we have you covered from head to toe.
Let's talk about an area that's not quite close to the toes. Let's get crazy with this holiday season. Yeah, that's MeUndies I'm spinning around, but the holiday season, now you can get MeUndies with some holiday prints on them.
That's right, ridiculously soft fabric holiday prints, matching holiday prints with your special person, or you can coordinate PJs for the family photo. And right now you can get up to 50% off with the code FOUL. We rock MeUndies. You should too. We're talking over 30 million pairs sold. Knock out all your holiday gifting needs today with MeUndies to get exclusive holiday deals up to, yep, I said it, 50% off. Go to MeUndies.com/foul and enter promo code FOUL. That's MEUNDIES.com/FOUL. Promo code FOUL for up to 50% off.
The other big thing that these two talked about, Beltran and Stearns, both, is that we're very much involved in Pete and Edwin. It seems like they're a priority for this Mets team to bring these guys back. And as a fan, that's nice because as much as we think David Stearns would spend on Pete and Edwin, and like, I know people love to pretend that Stearns is going to operate like it's the Brewers and he's not going to go after a first baseman and a closer typically, but we know that those guys have value that are a little bit different than what the dollar signs would be for a player of those caliber. But also at the same time, just putting on the fan hat there, it's really nice to know, like, guys that we want back, they also want back too.
Totally. Some leading questions being asked by the reporters, if you guys go back and listen to this, about like strategy and ideas about signing declining players or giving big money for a reliever, and Stearns kind of shut them down both times. So either just really great campaigning and politicking by Stearns, if that's actually the way he thinks, not telling us that, but just he's like, I'm not scared of paying big money for a reliever. We evaluate every single player individually. If we think he's worth the money, we sign the player. And he kept kind of double down the bullpen, being like, we know we have to sign more than one reliever this offseason. Yeah. He's like, we got to fill this baby out. And mentioned the fact that if you want good players in free agency, you're going to have to be willing to pay for decline years. I think that's fine. Yes. It's like he said, there's going to be a tipping point for that. But again, every player is individually being analyzed.
Let me ask you this question, James.
What?
Not because I want this, but can the Mets have a better bullpen than they had last year with no Edwin Diaz? Is it possible?
I mean, anything's possible. Like, how did the Mets bullpen even line up by the time last year ended? Like, middle of the pack in ERA? Like,
yeah, but like, can they get better without having Edwin?
One thing that we kind of talked about a lot, and it felt it based on how many losing streaks the Mets had, is that we would go a month at a time and Edwin Diaz wouldn't even be a part of the bullpen.
Yeah.
And I think that there was another comment that Stearns made in one of the little offshoot press availabilities that he did. And I think this might be another thing we talked about a lot this year, trying to maximize more of the 40-man roster.
Yes.
Is being more willing to having relievers. I'm saying this for 4 years, guys. When this finally happens, man, I'm going to freak out. Get guys who are going to throw 2-3 innings at a time. That's it. That's what it comes down to. I think they tried to do that with Kranick, but he broke instantaneously. Yeah. So it's just the idea of I still struggle to say a better bullpen, because I'm also thinking in terms of a regular season bullpen. I don't think there's any way the Mets can have a better postseason bullpen if it doesn't have Edwin Diaz in it. And again, the end of the year, guess where the Mets ranked in bullpen total ERA?
15th.
Exactly 15th.
Yeah, and
Ahead of the
Edwin
Toronto Blue
does-
Jays, who went to the World Series.
Edwin does a lot of the heavy lifting there, and the Dodgers had one of
Tons.
the worst bullpens in baseball. So, like,
And we had the third most innings thrown for a bullpen. So that's also
probably
like,
that's probably the bigger issue. Is that how many innings these guys had to throw? Because we knew outside of Edwin Diaz, there was kind of nothing for a while.
totally. But one thing that I think would change seriously with this bullpen if you don't have Edwin Diaz, just because we talked to you guys last week about some of the replacements out there, and it's not that great. The bullpen market's not great. I think the free agent market actually kind of sucks. I think that as we've been analyzing it more, doing a lot more talking about all the free agents on the wind-up, looking at stuff from my own channel, these free agents I don't think it's a good class at all.
This is the classic, like, 10 years ago in baseball, like 2015, 2014, you'd be seeing a lot of these guys getting mega deals and then looking back and be like, why the fuck did you ever, like when Jason Hayward got paid all that money, you're like, why the hell did you do that? In the moment, it didn't even make sense. But it was like, he's one of the best free agents available. This is a weak class. And this free agency, like, there's 3 elite guys. And that's kind of it. Everybody else is like in that weird range.
Who were your 3?
Well, you'd go with Edwin, elite, elite closer. Kyle Tucker, elite. And if you're talking hitting at first base, Pete Alonso is an elite hitting first baseman.
I think on the windup we ranked those 3 and Schwarber as elite free.
Oh yeah,
agents,
Schwarber
correct?
too. Okay, 4.
I think we added one more. Yeah. But so what do you think is the second total besides after Kyle Tucker? I think Kyle Tucker will comfortably get $350 million to $400 million.
Yeah.
What's the second highest total dollars committed to a free agent this offseason? And who is it?
It's probably Bo, even though
How much do you give Bo Bichette? I don't want to even think about 33-year-old Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette's a miracle for him that he's 27 and hitting this market. But, like, if someone gives Bo Bichette a 7-year deal.
If he touches $200 million, that's crazy.
That was kind of my point. I don't even think there's another $200 million guy this offseason.
And, like, it's not Bregman. I don't think it's Bregman
Unless I think Amai could actually be the sneaky one that sneaks up there.
How, though? What do they give him, like a 10-year deal?
Like an 8, like a 7 for, I don't know, 26
still.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think Amai could wind up being the most coveted pitcher by far this free agency.
That's fair.
I think the teams care so much about the QO.
It is crazy the drop off in money. Like, Pete's obviously not going to be the next highest guy. It's not going to be Schwarber.
Yeah,
it's got to be Bo, right? That's got to be the guy who gets paid the most, and it's
probably just because of the age.
Yeah, it's because he's going to be 28 next year, so you get 2 more full years in his 20s, and then he's probably still going to hit in his 30s. It's just what's the actual value you're going to get outside of like hitting for average from him, which I don't know about when he gets older.
And Bo does all the things well that don't age well. Like, also, he doesn't really run anymore. And Bo's like so good at like making contact on weird pitches. That's something that gets so much worse. Like your bat to ball and like weird batted balls when you're done. Like,
but he had a great season. There's no doubt.
I think Bo's gonna have 3 more really, really good seasons. But he could be a quick drop off guy. And like even Tucker. Like Tucker's great. Like Tucker's nowhere near the level, the tier of Soto, Judge, Ohtani.
I think going into last season, everyone was like, "Oh, he's gonna be like a $400 million guy." Like, no doubt.
I still think he might.
I still think he is, but is he as close to that AAV as he should be? I don't know. I love Kyle Tucker. I think he's awesome. I think like right now, paying him $40 million a year, I don't give a shit. I'd be happy with whatever team he went to if I was a fan of that team, they signed him
for sure.
But this free agent class is mega ass. Like, this is not a good free agent class at all. Especially on the pitching side, which sucks because we need pitching. I have like almost no interest in any of the pitchers on the market,
especially if the rates are going to go for it. The whole thing that started me on this tangent, I'm gonna shift after this, talk about the starting pitchers. I think Stearns said some cool shit about them. Is that this year the Mets actually had the 4th highest average fastball velocity from relievers.
It's kind of crazy.
At 95.7, which I'm kind of shocked about. The Rockies were 2nd. Cardinals were 1st. Rockies were 3rd. Cardinals were 2nd. Giants were 1st. Would never, ever.
That's
and
insane.
The Padres were 5th. Never, ever would guess that top 5 in that order. But
I'm shocked we were behind the Padres.
That's the thing that you lose, I think, when you lose Edwin.
Yes.
I don't know how else you're going to find this velocity unless you give the keys to Lambert and Dylan Ross. But I also think the Mets might too, because 2 other things that Stearns really, really harped on is the fact that where we want to give young players a chance, but also this starting pitching market, he basically said through his teeth, is fucking ass.
Yeah.
And I think it was a good way to let people know that. Someone keep like, how high is getting a number 1 starter on your list? He goes, I don't know how many true number 1 starters are out there.
I don't think there is one.
He said, if a number one pitcher is available, we will be involved in discussions. And he doubled down saying that we know that we have the strength of system, the depth, and the quality of prospects to get any deal done and not worry about how that affects both our major league team and our minor league teams.
That was like porn to me. That was awesome.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, yes, please. Like, you're hinting that you will make the right trade. You will take this shot if it's there, and that's all we want. That's why you build up this farm system. That's why you've seen the teams like the Dodgers, and you saw the Padres take these shots. Like, you build up this farm system, and you can gut it like the Padres and not win anything, but like they go for it. I fucking appreciate that they go for it as one of the smallest markets in all of sports. Dodgers obviously continuously have one of the best farm systems in baseball, but that's what makes this organizational philosophy and how you build this team so much fun, is that now you can be interested in every single guy that's ever available because you have the pieces.
And you can pick and choose the right ones. Like, there's a difference between finding a way to trade for Framber Valdez. I'm finding a way to trade for Tarek Skubal, but also giving a 6-year contract to Framber Valdez. Like, it's just not. Like, it's like
I would rather trade the prospects every single time than give Framber 6 years.
Every single time. It's not even close. And then this is the other thing that's going to be the reverse of this that you guys might not want to hear. If you guys didn't like our Nightmare Offseason episode last week, you're going to love this. The best way, David Stearns said, the best way to have an ace on your staff is to develop the ace of your staff.
It's fair.
And he said, I think we have a good shot to do that based on the guys that we have. And it's like, it's very clear that what he was saying is like, we're open-minded. We think we know we're going to have to go into this offseason adding pitching. But he also said about the guys last year, it was a lot of injuries that affected performance. I think that's specifically talking about guys like Sean Manaea, Kodai Senga, who I think are comfortably still going into the year as like the 3 and the 5 of the staff. So I don't think we're super relying on him as things stand right now, but they have to provide some value.
And that's the worrying part that I can understand why Mets fans are scared about this rotation, is because we did just see a season of Kodai Senga and Sean Manaea that was horrible. And if those guys stink again, then it's like pants are down. We just did the exact same thing we did last year, which is not really enough actually good starting pitching. So I think that's why the Mets are in a weird scenario where we have like 9 guys, but how many can you actually rely on to be good? That's the problem.
We have 9 guys and we have like 6 threes. Like, this team doesn't have a 1. They might. I mean, McLean's probably a great 2, but it's 3s and 4s and a couple of 5s. Like, you need to find a way to get any elevation there. And it's like, I think that they know that there's a chance that happens again. I don't think there's a shit ton of confidence in that room about either of those guys, because there was like more comments about Senga. Like, he's considered a starting pitcher right now. Like, we know that he's someone who can contribute, not someone like to be relied upon. I think also Manaea, like, fucking sucks, but the way we talked about him through last year, it's like when you change your arm slot like that, you're just begging to get hurt. Like, your body did one thing one way forever. Now you're going to tell your body to do one thing that you've always done totally differently. It's like,
and then we saw his arm slot dropped even more this year, and that was a bad drop because he was just getting absolutely tattooed every single time. The pitches were flat; they had no juice. It was bad.
And that's the contract, again, you are worried about signing. Like, luckily, it is only a 3-year deal, but like, that's where the biggest mistakes happened last offseason. Like, everyone's kind of focused on Frankie Montas, but like 2 years for $17 million per. Like, it sucks ass to get dog shit for that. But like, Manaea getting paid more like a tier above, and he wasn't even anywhere close to that and didn't show up. And when he pitched, he wasn't even good. It's like, that's the shit that really can kill your team and really bog down what you can do. And like, giving those contracts out are scary, which is why it's free agent class scary.
It was like kind of the Starlin Marte contract where it's like, 5 years from now, which we saw last year, it's like he had a fine season, Starlin Marte. He hit okay, but he kind of had no value to this team besides 5s.
No, it's finding more value. Like, damn, that's I think why Stearns talked a lot about the young players too.
Yes,
he said we need to give young players a chance to play. He mentioned the fact that we need to build in the room on this roster to give young guys a chance, and I think that the two sides of that, a little bit of that is about the pitchers. I think for sure.
Yes,
100%. I think David Stearns wants to give both Joe Tong and Brandon Sproat chances to prove themselves next year.
And they should.
100%. And I also think another part of that, he mentioned actually specifically by name, it's about Carson Bench.
Yes.
It's about not signing guys in the outfield to not give Carson Bench a chance. I think that there's a real, and he said that was the quote that kind of made their rounds from this media availability that Stearns did. It's that Carson Bench is going to come in spring training with a chance to make the team when he was specifically asked about center field.
Super awesome as well, by the way. Like, I love to hear that kind of confidence from the president of this team being like, this first round pick, we think's a home run. If he shows us that he's that dude, he is going to be our center fielder. And I also think from a fan perspective and even players on the team, you kind of have to respect the idea while there's no real center fielder to go sign on the free agent market. If you're going to go
never
get
is.
someone, it's like Luis Robert. And as much as I love him, it's risky. There's risk involved with a guy like Luis Robert. He might suck. It's cool to see that like your organization, like this guy's good. He's going to help us win. And if he shows us he's that guy, we're going to put him in there right then and there. He's going to be thrown into the fire, which I kind of like.
Especially if he earns it. Like come into spring training with a chance to win. It's like we're very open-minded to what this guy
if
can be.
If you can help this team win, you are going to be on this roster. And I don't know if we've had that conversation about previous Mets teams all the time.
Totally, which is also funny because when he did his 3 weeks of AAA, he was fucking ass. He was terrible.
Yeah, not good.
But like also like at 3 weeks AAA, like no big deal there. He
and
was one of the best
an
hitters in
too,
AA.
Right?
Something, a wrist or an ankle, I don't remember what. But AA, he was one of the best hitters in the entire league. So I think it's like when you see a guy do that who already has college under his belt, it's like you can do that. And you kind of need, if you want to be a team that kind of is like beats odds, I don't know. I can never say the Mets are like an underdog based on having Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor on their team. But like to take a step forward as a team, you kind of do need to build in room for these young players to take their steps. Like that's how you get production past projections. Like that's how you add something new to the roster. And I do think that ironically, like that did actually happen by the end of the year this year. Like when we got to September, Beatty and Alvarez were absolute like surefire stud players. Like we're going into the season and it's like there's kind of no question about either of them. And I'm comfortable saying
unreal confident about both of them. We've always been Brett Beatty podcast. This has been a Brett Beatty podcast through and through, and it feels good that he's playing so well. And David Stearns also gave him a little vote of confidence too, talking about how like he's going to get significant time at third base. That's one of our guys there, and he should. He plays good defense at third. He hit really well last year, got better as the season went on. There's no reason why Brett Beatty shouldn't be the starting third baseman on opening day. And then for Francisco Alvarez behind the plate, we always talk about his age. But when he went down to AAA and went back to being the hitter that he was, how fucking awesome was it to watch him play baseball again? The guy is just a beast. He's a freak at the plate.
Again, not wanting to rehash any of the bullshit that happened in that end of the year, whatever, but Alvarez was one of the best, not even catchers, hitters in baseball from when he came back up. It was basically the whole second half. He had almost 150 plate appearances of being an absolute lights out, rock solid, like masher, someone who could hit fifth on a playoff team. You don't even feel bad about it. So just the fact that if that was one of the goals last year, tons of goals last year that were not reached. But one of the goals, but one of them was figure out what the fuck is going to happen with these two guys. And it was a little bit fortuitous to get to that spot, especially the way both guys started their seasons. But by the end of it, you know that you have the space now. We have these two guys who are rock solid towards the back middle of the lineup and can be trusted. And
they're free.
If you get one more guy to do that this year in Benj, that's such a huge deal too, especially if he can do that at a premium position. Because on the other side of this coin, David Stearns was non-committal about Jet Williams' role and about that. Yeah. Someone asked about the bench stuff. It was like, what about Jet Williams? Do you see him in the same light? And he was like, nah, not really. I think he still has more room to grow, more room to develop. He said, though, defensively, he likes Jet, that he can play all three up the middle positions at a high level. But that was kind of where that stopped.
I think that's also like, because he talked about Acuna and that they plan to use Acuna a lot still next season, that they're confident about what he can be, especially defensively. And we know that Jet, like if he can do what Acuna can do defensively, which is play the middle infield positions in center field, we know he's a better hitter. We know he's going to have a better bat. I think that's also maybe a little why he's a little non-committal too, is they kind of have someone right now.
Yeah.
And they might be looking to move Acuna too, I think, at some point this offseason.
I think they're dying to move Acuna because Acuna is, simply put, an incomplete baseball player. He's smacking home runs in the Winter League, though, which is kind of funny to see.
Well,
but
we know that his bat speed dropped, and when he was good, he was taking hacks. And while that version of Acuna probably strikes out 30% of the time and probably is not patient and doesn't get on base, if he's going to hit the ball any sort of harder than he did last year and play defense and run like he did, that's a player I love to have on the bench. It's just the 2025 version has no place on this roster.
Yeah, Luis Angel Acuna between 2024, when he came up to be a spark plug, and it was kind of like, hey, young man, save the team.
And he kind of did.
He had 75th percentile bat speed. It was average bat speed of almost 74 miles per hour. And this year, with a lot more swings, the average bat speed was under 71 miles per hour, which was bottom 30 percentile bat speed. It seems like a pretty easy fix. Like if for Luis Angel Acuna, there are a lot of discussion right now about legitimately non-tendering him. I think that would actually be a mistake, given
I think so too.
His age, his defensive value, his athleticism, and the fact that we did see 2 weeks of him swinging the pit side of the bat and just actually hitting the ball well. At the worst case scenario, even if it's just for this year until you get one more year of seasoning with Jet, if Luis Angel Acuna can be Luis Guillorme with pop and speed,
yeah,
And like again, me saying it's Pop, you guys probably guys know fucking Pop. I watched him all year last year. Like we saw, there's a version of him with Pop. We saw him swinging the bat hard. For some reason, he just didn't do that this year. I think someone instructed him to like maybe be a little bit more slappy, which
Make
is
a little more contact.
if someone was doing that. I think that someone likely doesn't have a job right now. And I think we all know why that person doesn't have a job. But for him to have not shortened up his swings, now I'm even looking at Baseball Savant because now I'm interested about it. Same swing length, and he lost 3 miles an hour in his bat speed.
That's
like incomprehensible.
It's incomprehensible, and that is intentional as well. That is an intentional take a different swing.
I see, and he's still making contact in a similar spot too. It's very terrible. But if he can just get back to plus bat speed and be a plus defender and be the fastest guy on your team, it's a great spot on the roster for that. Like you need this backup infielder that can play around. And we saw he can play short, he can play third, he's gonna be great second. Like it's a fine player to have on your roster. You're not freaking out excited about Luis Acuna being one of the last guys in this roster, but to be the 24th, 25th guy, like that's a very, very useful piece.
I also really liked what Stearns had to say about Ronnie Mauricio too, just to talk about more of these like fill-in guys that because Ronnie's back in the lead dom playing, and he was like, his injury it was like a freak thing. We don't care. Like, we want him to get better. We're not going to stop development because of a fear of an injury. Like, and I like hearing that too because Ronnie needs to play more baseball. Like that's the biggest thing with him is he just needs more reps, needs more swings. If he could ever figure out how to even be a little better hitting right-handed, like he has a spot on this team big time.
And we know that the only reason Ronnie Mauricio was on the roster at the end of last year is because they wanted to preserve that option.
Yes.
100% the whole thing. And if he would have been sent down, would have gotten a player, well, maybe you win one more game when you reach the fucking postseason. So I think that was a misread by Stearns there, something he did wrong.
Yes.
It's important that they wanted him to get that. So while they knew he was on the roster and not able to play baseball at the end of the year, like, yeah, please go play in the lead dom, like get your hacks and get reps, because that's just important for a guy that missed so much time and who was so raw anyway. Now he's sneakily going to turn 25 years old during the season, which is crazy. Ronnie Mauricio is going to be 25 years old. I remember when they fucking signed him internationally 7 years ago, whatever the fuck it was. But yeah, 2017 they signed him internationally. 8 years ago they signed Ronnie Mauricio. It'll be 9 by midseason next year. But it's just reps, game. But that was an area where the classic threading the needle did not work.
No, it did not work. All right, I'm going to ask you the favorite question, James.
Yeah.
Luis Angel Acuna, Mark Vientos, Ronnie Mauricio. Who's on the Mets 2026 opening day of those three?
So I don't think Mauricio will be. I think he'll be in the organization, but I think he was guaranteed start season AAA. And I think that Acuna is and Vientos is not. I'm still steadfast that Vientos is not. The disrespect that David Stearns delivered to him in that press conference, being like, yeah, bad opportunities. And he's like, I know he's going to be motivated. And he said something that basically instructed that the positions that Mark Vientos plays will be filled.
Yes.
But he said he has to come to spring training knowing an opportunity will arise.
I also liked, or it felt like, reading the tea leaves about Stearns' comments too, kind of hinted to, he's like, he's a bat first guy and the bat wasn't there last year. So can't really play him.
And the way that Carlos Mendoza kind of doubled down on that by the end of the year, being like, hey, he can't play this position.
Which is
we can't put him there.
He never will.
No. And I think that Gibbons also mentioned the fact that he loved the process between the coaching staff and the front office. He said definitely wasn't a problem, but you felt like based on the failure that things had to change, and he was okay with that.
I mean, that's a respectful opinion.
Yeah, I think John Gibbons, old school baseball guy. It's respectful.
And now he's going to go hang out in Anaheim with the Angels coaching staff, which is going to be
with real coaches. We could really do baseball stuff too. Because he said another comment about analytics being like the way that like this front office like integrates data. It's like a young man's game to be a coach now. You've seen that with these Mets hires: Kai Correa, Justin Willard, Jeff Albert. I think those guys, if you add up all their ages, you barely sneak over 100.
Yeah,
so it's like I think the Angels, the average 2 coaches get 100. The Mets are averaging 3 coaches get to 100.
And Kurt Suzuki on a 1-year deal, which is crazy.
Yeah, a 1-year coaching deal. But I think that he seemed like kind of like nice about it. He was like, they were gonna fire me. I just wanted to leave before I could beat him to the punch. He was like, it's fine.
Exactly how he felt as a manager. It seems like that's always his comments. Are kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, he's like, the way they're gonna run this team, probably want more young men involved here.
Yeah, I shouldn't be involved.
No, it's just totally fine. But I do think that like after this week, like it's nice to get some of these morsels of news. It's nice to actually get a piece of real news in Josh Naylor. Some other funny comments that Stearns made. A few times people asked him about lowering payroll, and he was like, no. He's like, that's not part of the plan. He gives our plans to lower the payroll. He was like, well, I think it's really nice here that we know that that's never an issue.
Yes.
And someone asked him again, said, is there actually a plan to lower the payroll? He just said no.
But James, he was the GM. He was the president of baseball in Milwaukee, and they were cheap. Surely he's going to run the Brewers the exact same way, even though there's clearly different financials involved.
No, we've already offered the biggest contracts ever since he's been in this team for hitter and pitcher.
That's not him, James.
Of course,
that's Steve Cohen, and that's why Pete Alonso was back. It's anything that any big contract is not David Stearns. He only signed Frankie Montas. Ignore Clay Holmes, one of the best free agent pitcher signings of the season last year.
No one's talking about Clay Holmes. Clay Holmes is so good this year. There's another funny.
Awesome. A minute on Clay Holmes again. 160 innings, 3.5 ERA. Get the fuck out of here. Like. That's better than almost every free agent pitcher that was signed last offseason.
Clay Holmes this season, again, we'll say it again. So the Mets cobwebs have really started to come off. Like, we were here doing the podcast the whole month of October, but you guys probably tell our souls weren't in it because of how depressed we were about how everything went down.
No, it's nice to, like, not be depressed.
Clay Holmes threw the 46th most innings in baseball this season. Clay Holmes threw more innings than Luis Severino.
$13 million a year, Clay Holmes.
That's so funny. That's crazy.
Sick.
Stearns had another really funny comment. Brian Kenny asked him, he was like, great season for Juan Soto. Like, in terms of personal success, a success in year one, team success, not so much. But, like, when he leaves for the offseason, a guy like that in a mega contract, like, how much communication do you guys have with him? Stearns like, constant communication. Yeah. He's like, we think we're just letting him go for 3 months and we're going to see him when he gets back? That's not how this works. You know how much this guy gets paid? We're going to lose track of him?
How about Soto's comments at the player awards, too?
Interesting, too. You're right.
He wants Marte back, which... Please, God, no. Unless he wants to be a coach for free. He can hang out and be a vibe. We call Dusty Baker the cultivator of vibes. If he wants to be a cultivator of vibes, I'm cool with that. He can be on the staff. Player? Absolutely not. But what I really liked from Soto, he wants Pete back, too. I love that.
So they want to have more fun together. But then the other side of that, he again referred to Marte as the leader of the team.
Yes.
Which, but we've saying that.
We kind of known that the leadership's always been a little weird with this team. Not from a negative standpoint, but Lindor, Alonso, Nimmo, and then like the pitchers that they had in the past, like it's never been conventional. Like there is a clear team leader, rah. But also look around baseball. Like I don't know, Aaron Judge is so fucking good. Is he really like? Do you like look at him and you're like that guy's the leader? You feel like inspired by him. He's just fucking sick.
Well, he's more similar, I think, to the Lindor lead by example kind of guy. Exactly. Like I don't think you need the rah.
How many teams actually have that kind of leader? Truthfully.
It's kind of the same conversation with teams, how badly you need an ace. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny to have that shit go back and forth. There was also
it's narrative.
There was the funny thing this week. It was John Heyman versus Will Salmon. And you guys know whose side we're taking that reporter war.
Will.
Where Heyman was like, Mets are fielding offers on Jeff McNeil. Salmon's like, well, there's no formal offers made. There's preliminary interest around the league in a player who still has Jeff McNeil's versatility and was still a plus hitter this year.
Yeah. And then we also got a little craziness of the Edwin Diaz Blue Jays. This is the perfect storm. I was shocked to see the Edwin Diaz rumors just on a random day, and there's like the Blue Jays are interested because they blew the World Series with Jeff Hoffman. I was like, I mean, I think every team in baseball is interested in Edwin Diaz. He's the best closer in the game,
and every team probably should be a bit, but there also
unless
is
you're the Rockies.
Honestly, I bet the Rockies kind of are. I have a feeling they might be on Edwin Diaz. What's the first step to being a big time team? Closing out the fucking ball game. Can't win without a closer. But there's always going to be this element of collusion that goes on to not be able to find a better word, where these teams are all dealing with the same sets of data. They all have similar player evaluations. It's not like the old days where someone just blows a free agent out of the water. Like it's just
unless you're the Angels.
Yeah, right. Or unless you're 45, 47. But it's like you are going to – every team has the same idea of what kind of years you're going to give a guy.
Yes.
Like if no team's giving Edwin Diaz a 5-year contract, he's not getting a 5-year contract. I know he wants a 5-year contract. Maybe some team gets there, but they lower the AAV. Like the same thing we're talking about Pete Alonso, where it feels like, especially with Edwin Diaz having the qualifying offer, it's like who's really blowing this out of the water for Edwin Diaz? Maybe
like the Dodgers. That's probably it.
The Dodgers are one I actually don't see it likely for at all with Edwin Diaz.
Why?
Mostly because they just made this mistake last offseason. They just gave Tanner Scott a fat 4-year deal.
But those two are also vastly different in their talent and ceiling and floor.
Very different. But I think the Dodgers, similar to the Mets or any team, are going to be like, we already have so much money committed to this bullpen. Like we think we want, especially the way their lineup ended the season. Like the Dodgers couldn't fucking hit the way when their World Series ended. Like I think if they have to throw money out of position, I think it happens in the lineup before it happens in their bullpen. I think the Blue Jays thing makes sense because I could see the Blue Jays tilting at the end of the offseason. And if the Diaz thing has kind of stretched out, the Blue Jays miss on Bo Bichette and they don't sign Kyle Tucker, I can see them being like, fuck, if those parts of our team are going to stay the same or get worse, especially if they lose Bo, depending who the second baseman is. Speaking of total fantasy world now, 38 minutes in the Mets'd podcast. Now we're talking about an early February scenario where the Blue Jays have had another disastrous offseason after
Pete Alonso
a
signed
World
by
Series
this point?
appearance. Yeah, Pete Alonso signed by this point. Pete Alonso signed 3 days. He signed back with the Mets 3 days before on a 4 for 90.
Nice.
But 4 for 95. But then you get to the spot with Edwin Diaz where they're like, fuck, you know what? Fuck, let's just give him the 5th year. Like, just give him the 5th year. Who gives a fuck anymore? Like, that is a point where that can happen. But there were murmurs about the Edwin Diaz market moving quickly this week. And that, I think it's like only if it's the Mets. Like, I don't think there's another team that's jumping out like that. It's just,
he was at Citi Field for the game.
I think, yeah, right? I think a lot, he got big cheer. I think a lot of people want free agency to move quickly. And it just won't. It just doesn't.
I want to go, where have you guys been? Like, have you been paying attention to baseball? Because this is not a Mets problem. This is how baseball offseason operates. It's not the NBA. It's not the NFL. A deadline doesn't fix the MLB offseason. If anything, that fucks the players even more. Yeah,
it's worse.
Hey, you have to sign by this time. Think about how insane that sounds. By the way, you have to sign a contract.
And people love that for the NBA, but I think there's a huge fundamental difference between baseball teams and basketball teams. Where baseball teams have 26 guys, basketball teams have like 13,
and
so it's
like
just
6 of them matter.
Yeah, maybe 7, 8. It's just that kind of what this shit always comes down to. But it's like, it's going to take a while, and that's totally fine. Like, the patience is a virtue with this stuff. We're going to get a lot of action in the next few weeks, but last year, do you remember what day Blake Snell signed? We kind of said that was like the one that started everything.
It's got to be like November 20th or something like that.
November 26th.
Oh, that's Thanksgiving, like the day before
That's what I'm
Thanksgiving.
saying, yeah. But I think that's because the GM meetings are the couple of days after that, first week of December every year. So that's when we're going to start to get action. Winter meetings. Sorry, this was GM meetings this past week. But like, again, like that was all spurned based on the fact that the Blue Jays met with Edwin Diaz.
Yes,
everyone's meeting with everybody right now. Like you're just taking meetings right now, and it's just
they have nothing else to do right now.
Whenever you guys hear reports about like a preliminary offer or suitors emerge, it's all fucking fake, and just you can click on it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that the Blue Jays might not sign Edwin Diaz. This is us being like,
no, they definitely could sign Edwin Diaz. No, for sure. But it's just
meeting with a guy is like the least interesting thing I could ever hear about.
It's all puff bullshit for these few weeks. Like, it just is simply. And that's why it's also funny when, like, the Mets sign a minor leaguer. Jackson Clough gets a minor league deal and invite to spring training. And for some reason gets, like, this kind of weird outroar backlash when, like,
it's partially my fault.
Yeah, it's definitely partially your fault. I mean, usually a lot of these things are. But everything just, that's it. We just get reported because they know that we're such a vivacious, ferocious fan base. We're going to click on things. These reporters know they can use the Mets to kind of do that. That's just the game. The game is the game.
Mets are the only team in baseball signing guys that you have never heard of. Don't look at what the Yankees did. They signed Giovanni Cruz to a minor league contract, who's like had a 5 ERA in AA last year. Don't look at anybody else's transactions. Only the Mets signed these guys.
Mr. Rowe, we were hanging out on Saturday, and you said how it's ridiculous you're saying it's time to sign these minor league free agents right now. Every team's doing it. No big deal. We just do it because we know we're going to click on it. And, like, again, like when John Heyman's like, the Mets are fielding trade offers for Jeff McNeil. Who's lining up to trade for Jeff McNeil? Like,
especially now with the info that we have about that he blew out his shoulder and needs the scout list surgery. I'm sure teams are like, oh, that sounds like a guy that we have to have. Pirates signed a guy, by the way, Dugan Darnell.
Wow.
You know why Mets fans don't hear about those either? Because you don't look up the news of these other teams. All you care about is Mets news.
Yeah, I don't think all these other teams have this many fucking aggregators who are who some of them maybe are associated with fantasy football apps, and then they come out for these teams and make the sloppiest, most lazy bullshit, horrible content in the world, and just
the guy's nice. He likes us. He likes us.
Not his problem. It's the company's problem.
Fair,
that guy's fine.
Okay,
totally fine with that guy. But
Get
it's just the fact that it's 100% get your bag, run the account, make your money, do that, put on your resume, get the next one. But it's the idea that there has to be 30 of these out there.
Oh, it's insane.
Just reciting slop.
Backing up our boy Jenny Metz too. This guy got shit down his
Say it all the
throat
time.
for doing this, and now there's
the same
100
thing.
accounts. I see them crediting each other. That's insane.
Yeah, it's right. Yeah, it's like, oh, account X told me about, like, what are you guys talking about? It's kind
of like what all the writers like tweet out like 25 minutes later.
Yeah.
Like Jeff Passan will break the news, and then Mark Feinsand's like, Josh Naylor signs 5-year deal with the Mariners. Source Jeff Passan. You're like, great tweet, bro. Like,
yeah. But again, everyone, now that you make money on Twitter, get your bag. No big deal about that. But it's just it's very funny to to watch all this stuff unfold at this time of year when there's absolutely nothing going on.
And that's why you listen to the Mets'd podcast, because we gave you 45 minutes talking about no big free agents that the Mets are going to sign.
But taking little pieces.
Just the guys that we had. We want them back. They're probably going to come back. And then we're like, hey, you know how you guys want an ace? Not happening unless his name's Tarek Skubal. Like,
yeah, sorry. I mean, again, or I don't know, maybe Pablo. Because now we got the report that Pablo's more available than Joe Ryan.
I'm cool. I'd take Pablo in a heartbeat. But he's probably a really good two. Probably not an ace.
Yeah, I think you put him with another two, Nolan McClain. Now you're cooking with the gas. I think in real life, I like Pablo more than Joe Ryan. Fantasy baseball, I'd take Joe Ryan over Pablo. But real life, I'd probably take Pablo and Sandy over Joe Ryan.
I think that's fair. I'm interested to see what Joe Ryan looks like in a couple years. Not from a injury standpoint, but just it's such a unique profile. How does that play? We haven't really seen that for an extended period of time.
Would you rather Pablo or Freddie?
Ooh, Freddie.
Yeah? Do you say that more of just because you think Freddie's a better pitcher, or is also the idea of taking the best pitcher off another NL competitor?
I just think Freddie's probably a better pitcher. I love Pablo, but I do get a little nervous sometimes when you've just been pitching the AL Central for a couple years and putting up the best numbers of your career. You're playing
getting
against
at least
White
oh
Sox.
damn,
the White Sox
throwing
and
again.
The Royals have 2 major league players on their roster.
Yeah, right.
We did our rankings on the windup of current rosters, and I think the AL Central was 4 of the bottom 25. The rosters are pitiful.
Really, really bad, that league. But nothing's happened yet. I still think a lot's going to happen this Mets offseason. I think this team's going to look. This team's going to be very active. I think there's a good chance they look a lot different.
They missed the playoffs. They have to do stuff.
Yeah, every single time Stearns does one of these availabilities, last season was a disappointment in many ways, but one that we were shocked by.
People on Twitter would tell you that Stearns is not going to do anything different. He's going to have a bad offseason.
Yeah, of course, because they know.
Of course, everybody knows. Do we even know? Of course we
No, we don't know anything. Don't know shit.
I think we're done, right? 45 minutes, we're good?
We're good.
We're good. Guys, subscribe, Mets'd podcast. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. You can follow James on social media at
James Shiano.
Subscribe to The Windup. Not even going to plug
Subscribe
me.
to The
Subscribe to The Windup. Link will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching, listening. We'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. Let's go Mets.